There's a word that we've thrown around so much that it's lost its meaning. It's the word loyalty. Everyone says you've got to be loyal to your friends, be loyal to your family, be loyal to your job. But what if I told you loyalty isn't always your friend? What if I told you that sometimes loyalty can keep you stuck in places that are preventing you from becoming who you're supposed to be? Loyalty is often one of those concepts that we've been conditioned to accept without question. We grow up hearing that loyalty is a virtue, that to be loyal is to be faithful, dependable, and committed. But what if we've misunderstood it? What if loyalty isn't always a good thing? What if it's not about sticking with something, no matter how much it costs you? It's time to reconsider what loyalty really means and what it should look like in your life. Loyalty in its purest form should be rooted in something that's life-giving, something that adds value to your journey. But over time, we've been told that loyalty is about enduring, even when it's unhealthy. People often stay loyal to jobs, relationships, or situations simply because they feel obligated, because they've been there for so long, or because they don't want to appear disloyal. The problem is, loyalty for loyalty's sake can lead to stagnation. Real loyalty isn't about holding on to something that no longer serves you or is preventing your growth. It's about holding on to what brings you forward, what nurtures your purpose, and what pushes you to become better. It's about aligning your loyalty with what helps you thrive, not just what keeps you comfortable or familiar. When we redefine loyalty, we start to understand that true loyalty isn't about never leaving or never changing. It's about moving towards something greater. It's time to ask yourself, what am I being loyal to? Is it something that makes you feel alive? Or is it something that's holding you hostage in a place where you were never meant to stay? Sometimes you have to let go of your loyalty to things that keep you stuck. Loyalty is not about clinging to the past, but about being faithful to your future. We all have a purpose, something deeper within us that drives us, something that speaks to the core of who we are meant to be. But what happens when our loyalty starts to conflict with that purpose? What happens when we find ourselves loyal to people, places, or ideas that no longer align with our destiny? Loyalty by nature is a powerful force. It's the glue that binds us to others, to our commitments, to our promises. But here's the thing, loyalty becomes a problem when it traps us in spaces where we no longer belong. You can be loyal to someone or something for years, but if that loyalty is keeping you from stepping into the life you were meant for, it's no longer serving its purpose. Sometimes loyalty to the wrong things can cloud our judgment, making us believe that staying in a situation that no longer fits is somehow noble. But let's be clear, being loyal to something that hinders your growth is not loyalty, it's stagnation. Your loyalty can hold you hostage, locking you into a pattern that prevents you from pursuing what you were truly called to do. It's like being chained to a chair when you've been given wings to fly. On the other hand, your purpose is the thing that has been placed in you, the thing that calls you forward. It doesn't always fit into the neat boxes that loyalty demands. Your purpose will often challenge you, push you outside your comfort zone, and sometimes even call you to let go of things or people that you thought you were supposed to stay loyal to. You can't always be loyal to where you've been if it's holding you back from where you're going. Loyalty can tie you to past versions of yourself, But your purpose is the only thing that can move you into the future you're destined for. When loyalty stands in opposition to your purpose, it's not just a personal conflict, it's a spiritual one. Your purpose is calling you forward into the fullness of who you're supposed to be, but loyalty to the wrong things can act like a leash, limiting your freedom to walk into what's next. The hardest part is recognizing that sometimes loyalty needs to be adjusted, not because loyalty is wrong, but because it can't always be loyal to the wrong things and still expect to lead you to your purpose. There's a kind of loyalty that, while it seems noble on the surface, is actually toxic. Toxic loyalty is the kind of loyalty that ties you to situations or people that are draining you, holding you back, and ultimately preventing you from living the life you were meant to live. It's the kind of loyalty that keeps you stuck in unhealthy cycles, thinking that if you just keep being faithful, things will change. But here's the truth. Some things aren't meant to change, and your loyalty to them might be doing more harm than good. Toxic loyalty often arises when we mistake dependency for loyalty. We believe that being loyal means enduring, staying in situations where we're being mistreated, unappreciated, or even abused. We stay loyal to people who don't reciprocate that loyalty, people who continually take from us without giving anything in return. Toxic loyalty tells you that your worth is tied to how much you sacrifice, how much you endure, and how much you give, even when it's draining the life out of you. But loyalty should never come at the cost of your well-being. True loyalty should lift you up, encourage growth, and support mutual respect. Toxic loyalty, however, keeps you tethered to things that are toxic, relationships that pull you down, environments that stifle your potential, dreams that no longer align with who you've become. It creates an illusion of commitment while feeding off your energy and leaving you empty. It's not easy to recognize toxic loyalty, especially when it's tied to people you love or situations you've invested in for years. We're taught to be loyal to family, to friends, to our jobs, even when they no longer serve us. But loyalty, when it becomes toxic, stops being about commitment and starts being about sacrifice. The kind of sacrifice that isn't reciprocated, the kind that leaves you with nothing left to give. Toxic loyalty can make you feel guilty for wanting to move on, for wanting to grow, for wanting something better for yourself. It's that nagging voice that tells you to keep putting up with things that are holding you down just because you've always done it that way. But in reality, toxic loyalty is the thing that's keeping you in a place of stagnation. It's the trap that convinces you to keep fighting for things that don't fight for you. The danger of toxic loyalty is that it can blur your sense of self-worth. It convinces you that staying loyal to something unhealthy is somehow a virtue, when in reality, it's a betrayal to your own purpose and your own growth. You can't keep giving to something that's draining you and expect to still have the energy to pursue what you were meant to do. Toxic loyalty isn't about being committed, it's about being stuck. And the longer you stay in that toxic cycle, the harder it becomes to break free and live in alignment with your true purpose. Blind loyalty is one of the most dangerous traps you can fall into. It's the kind of loyalty that has no discernment, no awareness, and no boundaries. It's the loyalty that keeps you rooted in places, relationships, and circumstances that are slowly draining your life force, and yet you continue to pour yourself into them because you've been conditioned to believe that loyalty means you never question, never waver, and never let go. But the truth is, blind loyalty can have devastating consequences, both for your spirit and your future. When you are blindly loyal, you lose the ability to think critically about where your loyalty is leading you. You stop asking the important questions. You stop asking yourself whether the situation is healthy, whether you're growing, whether the person or place you're loyal to is actually benefiting your life. Blind loyalty convinces you that loyalty is an end in itself, an unquestionable virtue, when in reality it can lead you down a path that strips away your potential and your peace. The most immediate consequence of blind loyalty is stagnation. You stay in places you've outgrown, you remain in relationships that no longer serve you, and you hold on to promises made by people who are no longer capable of honoring them. Loyalty is meant to be a guide, not a chain, but when you are blindly loyal, you bind yourself to the wrong things, and those things, whether it's a job, a friendship, or a commitment, start to hold you back rather than propel you forward. Another consequence of blind loyalty is missed opportunities. When you are too focused on remaining loyal to something or someone, you may fail to recognize new opportunities that are knocking at your door. You may hold on to a job that offers security but doesn't challenge you, only to miss the chance for a career that would allow you to grow. You may stay in a relationship that offers familiarity but doesn't nurture your spirit, and by doing so, you close yourself off to the possibility of experiencing deeper, more fulfilling connections. Blind loyalty can prevent you from seeing what's right in front of you simply because you're too fixated on what's behind you. There's also the danger of resentment. When you remain blindly loyal, you often suppress your true feelings because you've been taught to believe that loyalty means you always give, always endure, and never question. But over time, resentment builds up. You give and give, but you feel like you're not receiving anything in return. Eventually, the resentment grows and it eats away at your peace, your joy, and your sense of self-worth. What once seemed like a virtue, loyalty, turns into a bitter burden that you feel trapped under, and when you finally realize the toll it's taken on you, it's often too late. Blind loyalty also leads to self-betrayal. You betray yourself when you remain loyal to something that compromises your values or disregards your needs. You may stay loyal to a group, a cause, or a person who doesn't value or respect your boundaries, and in doing so, you neglect your own needs and desires. In the end, you lose sight of who you really are and what you truly want. Blind loyalty creates an environment where self-sacrifice becomes the norm, but real growth can never come from sacrificing your truth for someone else's agenda. And then, of course, there are the long-term consequences. The years spent in the wrong place with the wrong people or in the wrong mindset, all because you were too loyal to let go. Time is something we can never get back. And when you're blindly loyal to something that doesn't serve you, you waste precious time that could have been spent on something that aligned with your purpose. You end up in a place where you're looking back with regret, wondering how you ended up so far off course. Blind loyalty, while often motivated by good intentions, has the power to rob you of the life you were meant to live. It can take you down roads that lead to emotional exhaustion, lost opportunities, and a disconnection from your true calling. It might seem like the right thing to do at the time, but the reality is, when loyalty is blind, it can blind you to the truth of what's best for you. Loyalty isn't a one-way street. It should never be about giving and giving without receiving, without any form of return. True loyalty is founded on reciprocity, where both parties involved are invested in and benefit from the relationship, the commitment, or the cause. Loyalty should be a shared energy, a two-way exchange where trust, respect, and support are not only given, but also returned. It's not about being blindly devoted to someone or something that doesn't acknowledge your worth. It's about creating a bond where both individuals or entities are lifting each other up, encouraging growth, and contributing to one another's well-being. When loyalty is one-sided, it becomes an imbalance. One person may be giving their all, but the other isn't offering anything in return, leaving one party depleted, discouraged, and possibly resentful. This is where loyalty starts to turn into a burden, and what was once meant to be a source of strength becomes a source of exhaustion. If you find yourself constantly giving more than you're receiving, it's time to reevaluate whether that loyalty is truly serving you. True loyalty isn't about sacrificing your needs for the sake of others. It's about mutual respect and support. A healthy relationship, whether it's a friendship, a family dynamic, or a partnership, is built on this principle of balance. If you're constantly giving of your time, energy, and resources without any return, eventually you will burn out. Your own needs and desires deserve to be met, and loyalty should never come at the cost of your own well-being. Loyalty should be a partnership, a symbiotic relationship where both parties feel valued and supported. It should never be about one person carrying the weight while the other walks freely without contribution. Whether in work, relationships, or personal endeavors, loyalty thrives in environments where both sides are invested in each other's success. It's about creating a foundation where mutual trust and respect allow both individuals or groups to grow and prosper together. This kind of loyalty doesn't drain you, it fuels you. When loyalty is mutually beneficial, it becomes a catalyst for growth, not a hindrance. Both people feel motivated to be their best because they know their efforts will be recognized and appreciated. They're not just loyal because they have to be. They're loyal because they want to be, because the relationship has value for both sides. It's the kind of loyalty that empowers both people to rise to the occasion, to invest in the success of one another, and to thrive together. The essence of loyalty is found in the strength of the bond that it creates. When both parties benefit, the loyalty becomes a powerful tool that fosters trust, support, and lasting connection. It's no longer about the weight of sacrifice, but about the power of shared commitment. It's a bond that both parties nurture, not because they have to, but because they believe in each other and in what they can accomplish together. There comes a moment in everyone's life where things aren't aligning like they once did. What worked for you yesterday may not be working today. Relationships, jobs, goals, these things may have once felt like the right fit, but now they're starting to feel heavy or maybe even stagnant. It's easy to stay in a pattern, to keep going through the motions because you've always done it that way, because you feel a sense of loyalty or obligation. But there are seasons in life when it's necessary to pause, step back, and reevaluate. It's time to ask yourself if where you are is truly where you're supposed to be. Reevaluating isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself the opportunity to grow. It's about being brave enough to admit that where you are may no longer be the best place for you. We often stay loyal to situations or people simply because it's familiar. We've invested so much time and energy that it feels wrong to question whether we should move on. But growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens when we challenge the status quo, when we decide to reassess and ask, is this still the right path? In every area of your life, re-evaluation is a necessary part of growth. Maybe it's your career. You've been in the same job for years, and while it provides stability, it no longer excites you or fulfills you. Maybe it's a friendship or a relationship that you've been loyal to for so long, but it's become one-sided or unhealthy. Re-evaluation doesn't mean abandoning everything. It means checking in with yourself and your feelings. It means reflecting on whether the things that you've been loyal to are still moving you forward or if they're holding you back. Reevaluating is also about questioning your own values. Who you were 5 years ago may not be the same person you are today. Life changes, circumstances change, and with those changes come shifts in what's important to you. You may have once prioritized stability over passion, or maybe security over adventure. But now, as you've grown, you're realizing that those priorities don't serve you in the same way anymore. Reevaluation forces you to take an honest look at what truly matters to you, at what aligns with your values and your vision for the future. Reevaluation is a call to action, a chance to get intentional about where you're going. It's about recognizing that life isn't about staying in one place because it's easy or because it's what you're supposed to do. Life is about evolving, about adjusting course when you realize that the current trajectory isn't the one that leads you to your best self. It's about being willing to change your mind, adjust your loyalties, and realign your focus when you realize that what once worked isn't quite right anymore. Most importantly, reevaluation is a process of self-awareness. It's about understanding where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. It's about checking in with yourself and deciding whether the life you're living is the life you're truly meant to live. We get so caught up in routine and expectations and in the pressure to continue with what we've always known that we forget to ask ourselves if we're still on the right path. Reevaluation is the opportunity to reconnect with your purpose, to recalibrate and ensure that your choices, your commitments, and your energy are all aligned with who you're becoming, not just who you've been. Evaluating is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength and wisdom. It takes courage to stop and look at your life from a distance, to see where things might need to shift, to admit that you may need to let go of things, people, or patterns that no longer serve you. But in doing so, you create space for the next chapter to unfold. You open yourself up to new possibilities, new growth, and new opportunities that align with your true self. Reevaluation isn't about throwing everything away. It's about making sure you're building your life on the right foundation.